Hello, my name is Nancy Bowen, and I am an Ohio State University field specialist focusing on community economics. In this session, we will summarize fact sheet number 6 of the Shale Energy Development Economic Impact Analysis fact sheet series titled Community Planning Strategies for Energy Boomtowns. As mentioned, this is the 6th and final of a fact sheet series titled Ohio Energy Trends, Comparing Old and New Energy Development. The objectives of this presentation are to provide an introduction and overview of the project, brief review of why Boomtown should plan, planning strategies, a sustainable planning process, and suggested capacity building strategies. The fact sheet series that we're working with is based on work from the project titled Maximizing the Gains of Old and New Energy Development for America's Rural Communities. This was a project supported by funding from the USDA National Institute of Food and Agriculture and Food Research Initiative. The overriding goal of this project is to assess how energy development affects local job creation and general community economic well-being, and, in turn, the manner by which communities can reap positive long-term sustainable benefits from energy development. Boomtowns that plan for the long term can improve chances to sustain economic success and avoid a potential bust that can occur. A boomtown is a community undergoing rapid growth due to economic shock. Since growth is desirable for most communities, complacency often sets in when community leaders expect a boom to continue forever. But according to research, some U.S. communities expressed this optimism in the past, particularly during the energy booms of the 1970s and 80s. Most energy boomtowns are rural, often lacking the resources and capacity to plan. Community sustainability planning keeps in perspective the impacts of energy development by developing strategies to leverage benefits while reducing losses resulting from the boom-bust cycle. In this presentation, we are focusing on 3 strategies that can be utilized to achieve long-term success. The first is planning for economic diversification. Over-reliance on energy-producing industries can drown out entrepreneurship, business development, and the potential for a diversified economy. State and local efforts concentrated on diversification can encourage new business development and attract targeted businesses. Local or regional planning initiatives that can earmark funding to assess the economic gaps and opportunities and to establish economic development strategies that expand existing or targeted new industries are a good thing for communities to do. The second focused strategy is planning for establishment of permanent funding. Establishing permanent funding ensures local needs, including infrastructure, workforce development, or diversification, for example, are addressed to mitigate impacts and build capacity. Permanent funding addresses the uneven distribution of costs and benefits of natural energy extraction and affords future generations the opportunity to cushion impacts. The third that we'll look at is local land use controls. County and township government has a history of developing and administering land use guidelines and regulations. Restricting development patterns can help constrain oil and gas mining operations to address infrastructure solutions. Land use controls can be controversial, but necessary to avoid becoming unwilling sacrifice zones. These 3 strategies are not the only 3 that could be incorporated, but are 3 to be considered by communities impacted by energy development. An extension team at OSU actually developed this 5-step planning process designed to help communities plan for the short and long-term impacts of shale development in eastern Ohio. This process was described in an article published in the Journal of Extension called Building Sustainability in Gas and Oil Producing Communities. It includes the following 5 steps. Creating an inclusive work group to gather public input. Secondly, conducting educational sessions to build planning capacity with communities. Thirdly, creating implementation plans for each work group that's established. 4, creating multi-dimensional goals to support sustainability. And finally, completing a plan and presenting it to the community. Rural communities often lack the capacity to address energy development issues and have a need for sustainable planning. Extension is an example of one entity that can serve in the role of facilitator and educator. For example, between 2010 and 2015, the Ohio State University Extension delivered more than 200 shale energy programs reaching 16,000 participants in the shale-affected region of Ohio. Initial efforts addressed individual landowner needs for legal and financial education, while subsequent efforts transitioned to community-based issues, including permanent funding solutions. In addition to extension or regional development entities, there may be a need for creating a trained circuit rider position or positions that work across several local governments. This position, as suggested in the literature, could focus solely on the unconventional oil and gas activity, allowing them to specialize in this area without other municipal responsibilities. The approach could provide local governments expertise on the issue and help with facilitation, coordination, and communication across jurisdictions. In conclusion, local community planning is an important and necessary process, especially in a boomtown scenario. Because rural areas typically lack the resources needed to tackle planning, help is needed in the form of education, information, and technical assistance. State and regional government and other organizations, including Extension, should play a role in assisting rural communities in planning for and implementing sustainable strategies. Although strategies can be customized to address area-specific changes, they should all take into account consideration for economic diversification, permanent funding solutions, and land use and environmental considerations. Planning that is focused on building capacity, increasing transparency, and building a strong collaboration across jurisdictions can ensure long-term success. This presentation is based upon work that is supported by the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, U.S. Department of Agriculture, Agricultural and Food Research Initiative, under grant number 114-00612, titled Maximizing the Gains of Old and New Energy Development for America's Rural Communities. The authors acknowledge and appreciate the support of both the USDA AFRI grant and the project team from the Ohio State University College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences and Department of Agricultural, Environmental, and Development Economics. Any opinions, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this publication are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the view of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. To assess the Shale Energy Development Economic Impact Analysis Fact Sheet Series in its entirety, and for additional shale energy economic analysis reports, please visit go.osu.edu/energyecon. Thank you.